A very good morning, everyone. Welcome to StudyIQ English. Welcome to the Hindu newspaper class for today. That is 11th February 2026. Again, a reminder of how quickly time flies by. So, good morning and welcome to the class, everyone. And here we have about 7 articles that I have taken from the Hindu New Delhi edition. While the first three articles are again, no, the first two articles are actually editorial page articles. These are edit page. Now, the remaining 5 articles are all a mix of science, international news, certain developments with regards to India's aviation sector, at the same time, private participation when it comes to the space domain. So, all these articles we shall be doing alongside. There is one more development. Now, President Trump was being kind on us. In the last few days, we have seen how US decided to reduce India's tariff from about 50% to 18%. At the same time, American President Trump was also being very kind-hearted, and he said that even if India imports oil from Russia, he will not punish India. And everyone was thinking, what happened? Why this change of sentiment? Why this change of heart? Today, there are 2 articles in the newspaper. They are in the breaking news as well, which shows that, yeah, probably his heart is not exactly changing. It is not a change of heart. It is once again about politics and diplomacy because, yes, absolutely, as Shlok says, we are again experiencing a problem with regards to our cotton industry. Bangladesh, one of the largest buyers of Indian cotton, is now being siphoned off. It may not buy cotton from India anymore. Who is responsible? Your President Trump. At the same time, Canada is having a problem with regards to border. President Trump has threatened Canada as well. So you see, he's back to his old ways, and it may not be exactly as kind as we were thinking. And as Kojumba, who's joining us after so long, bless you, my dear, she says, mood swings. Is this geopolitical mood swing? Well, let's examine in today's newspaper. Quite an interesting coverage there. Beginning from the first article, editorial page, page number 6, looking at a topic from GS paper 3, science and technology. We are looking at AI and how will AI tomorrow lead to AI terrorism, the use of weapons that are created through AI. How dangerous. Do we have a global treaty to stop this from happening? Well, not yet. Let's look into that. And a quick reminder about the QR code. Yes, we have a growing Telegram community, all because of the love and participation of my dear students. And those who still haven't joined can take this QR code and join it. Why? Because I do share questions every day. I will keep you posted on PDFs, and soon as I promised, I will announce one-on-one classes too on Zoom for anybody who may be interested across diverse UPSC topics. So please download the QR code. And now let me welcome my dear students before I begin with the first article. And let's see who all have joined us. So yes, we have Terukula, we have Sumit, Sitaram, Kaizen, Ashish, Sadhana, we have World Cricket code name. We have Kritik, Dave, my dear Ramu, Kojumba, Anoop, Shakti, Kundan, Iba, Ashish, Hika, Pranarathi, Reshma is here. Wow, Vikash is here as well. Wonderful. And who else do we have? Rajnishwar, Saurav, and Anoop and Shakti. And as other dear students keep joining in, now let me proceed by decoding the first article for the day. In the meanwhile, lots of love and lots of blessings to my dear, dear, dear students. All right. Great. Tai Thong is here. Okay. So what does the first article say? Bacha, this is GS paper 3. Listen carefully. Article says artificial intelligence is a transformational technology. What do you mean by transformational? Transformational means, yes, my synonym masters, Ramu and Shlok, transformational, something that is change oriented, something that can bring about transformation. Is AI technology actually transformational? Absolutely, yes. If you analyze the use of AI, you see, just by using machine learning, just by advanced data centers, today we are using AI, artificial intelligence, in fields like medical science, robotic surgeries. We are using it in vehicle segment, automobiles, driverless automated vehicles. We are using them in defense in a very big way, unmanned aerial vehicle. We are using them in agriculture for surveillance, crop monitoring, crop health. After all, AI is the new industrial revolution. Absolutely. If in 17th century the world experienced an industrial revolution which had changed the entire future of the globe, the changes are felt even today. Same time, we are saying now, as of now, AI is the industrial revolution part 2. AI is expected to create a transformation that can absolutely be compared with the 17th century industrial revolution as well. You can compare it with that. Now, rapid development of large language models. Yesterday, you and I were having a joke about Mintra, right? I said that Mintra was endorsing me certain apparel sizes, and I wasn't happy with buying them, but I was being imposed with those sizes. And I remember many students, including Shlok, he also ended the lecture by saying, "Ma'am, it's high time you must withdraw from this app." It's like, we were having that joke. But the larger reality behind this small joke is large language model, machine learning. The fact that consumer data can now be transformed in such a way we can make predictive tools regarding consumer behavior. Absolutely. Yes, Eric. And at the same time, as who reminds us? Who reminds us? World Cricket Code name reminds us. How about Albania? Albania, yes, it had the first minister for government procurement. The minister itself is an AI robot. You see, that's the sheer importance of large language models, and it also shows how AI is advancing. But naturally, like any technology, there are the pros and then there are the cons. If you have certain benefits of AI, if you utilize it for productive purposes, but if you start using it for destructive purposes, like drone and unwarranted surveillance. Now, we all know what has China been doing against Japan, against Taiwan, against Hong Kong, against Philippines and Vietnam in the South China Sea. We know unmanned aerial vehicles are being used for surveillance. Russia and Belarus have been doing something similar with the eastern territory countries of NATO, including Romania, including many more countries, Poland. They are un in a very illegal way, in an unauthorized way, they are trying to send their drones and map the security arrangements of their enemies. Now, is this an ethical use of AI? And when you talk about deep fakes, when you talk about consent, yesterday, remember, Eric and I were talking about how full blown medical surgeries are being broadcasted on social media, available for any audience, for any age group, without taking the consent of the victim and without having any consent, any parental guidance for the young viewer. Yes, we spoke about it. So, all these are the dangerous issues regarding AI. And now, as you see various military operations across the world, now, whether you talk about America's capturing of Venezuela, Operation Absolute Resolve. Whether you talk about China threatening Taiwan by surrounding it with live fire military drills known as Mission Justice 2025, or whether today you talk about India's utilization of drones in Operation Sindoor, we all realize one thing, that there is a growing technology that's being used in wars across the world. And especially if you look at the two biggest enemies and the two biggest leading countries of the world. In the Western Hemisphere, President Trump leading America, leading US to be more precise. And in the Eastern Hemisphere, you have President Xi that's ruling China, and he has a very expansionist ideology. Now, America and China are experiencing an AI rivalry, a technology war based on AI. That's also the reason why recently America is talking about Pax Silica. America understands it's not easy to depend on China either when it comes to raw materials like critical minerals, or even if it comes to AI chip fabrication or semiconductor. Absolutely slow. So you cannot depend on China. And now the enmity between both these countries, America and China, is less political. It's more economic, it's more AI related, because AI is becoming the strategic technology that will determine in future global relations of various countries to each other. What about opportunities here? Do we have any opportunities associated with AI? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now look at the statement coming from Ramu. Can't we use the statement in an essay? Of course we can. Ramu quotes Elon Musk. And Elon Musk has said, mark my words, AI is more dangerous than nuclear weapons, and absolutely true. Absolutely true. Nothing can be truer than that. Yes, correct. Yesterday we spoke about the cognitive debt. All these are crucial words. You must remember these words, okay? Now, are there any opportunities of AI? Let's discuss the pros and the cons both. Are there an opportunity? Is there an opportunity in AI? Yes. Yes, opportunities are there. If you use AI for a positive use, for a positive outcome, you will see AI can be utilized for better performance in the finance technology, fintech sector, of course, in the health sector, of course, in governance by providing e governance to people, and in data analysis, in agriculture. In space technology and defense, definitely it's very helpful, but it will also enable you an improved decision making through predictive analysis. Now, the best thing is that by using machine learning tools and data centers, we can do predictive analysis. Predictive analysis is not only helpful for commerce companies in knowing consumer behavior, it's also very helpful in understanding agriculture pattern. Absolutely, Shlok. It's very important in e-governance, Pranarthi. It can help you in providing yourself much better defense. It will not only help you doing disaster mitigation, but also disaster prevention, conflict prevention. But there are certain concerns here. The biggest concern is hallucination. Now, there's a very good word that you must remember. This is known as AI hallucination. What is hallucination, Bachi? Anybody knows about hallucination? Hallucination is a fake experience. For example, if somebody is traveling in a desert, there is nothing, no water body in that desert. But because of the light scintillation phenomena, you might feel that after every few meters, there is a water body. This is known as mirage. It is not a reality. 2, 3 days before, I made a video on bunny grasslands. I'll write it here because it's important. Bunny grasslands. Bunny grasslands in the Kutch area of Gujarat. Now, these are one of the largest green lands, largest grasslands in Asia. Talking about bunny grasslands, because one of the regions from here has now become Ramsar wetland in India. In this area, you often experience a fake feeling. This is known as cheer bati. Cheer bati. After every few meters, you will see in the night colorful objects dancing, and they don't have any such real physical basis. People say these are illusions, and a lot of people believe that they are supposed to be associated with mythology, some kind of a spiritualistic belief. But then science says that it is more to do with decomposition of gases like methane. So it's all the decomposition in the wetland. Yeah, exactly. That creates this kind of a phenomena, right? So that's Chirbati. Now, any such thing which has no real basis, but then you feel that you've seen it with your eyes, is known as an illusion. It's a mirage, and therefore AI sometimes can also give you these kind of fake responses. For example, you are asking a question, AI might give you a wrong answer, and you will believe that no, Chat GPT and Gemini are robots. They can never give me a bad answer, but they can give you a wrong answer. That's why they can mislead you. Algorithms can go wrong, they can get messed up, because every tiny second you are taking an answer from Chat GPT or Gemini, you are using tons of energy. We don't realize that. You are probably using some data center and all the power it generates. And that's why these are fake responses, wrong responses, named as AI hallucinations, false outputs, and they can be misused in legal systems. At the same time, where does AI get the data from? AI is getting all kind of data from AI is getting all sort of data from what? From existing data. It's not a new data. All the existing data is compiled. Machine is doing a learn. What is machine learning? Robots are learning from the existing data. They use it to make predictive analysis for future, the servers, right? A very good example I can give you here. Now, what do you mean by misuse of AI? Now, in America, it has been found out that most of the results that AI generates are also involving racial and ethical biases towards the people of color. And that's very unfortunate. People of color are already a racially subdued community in America. For a very long time, they were victims of racial abuse, right? Even today, majority of the poor and majority of the marginalized have to do with immigrants. They have to do with people of color. And now AI results are also showing that kind of an ethical bias against them. Why? Why will a robot do that bias? Because a robot is not showing magic. A robot is predicting on the basis of existing data. And that's the problem with AI. AI will never result in a breakthrough revolution. AI will always promote the same ideology that has continued to exist in human civilization, and therefore it can give you a lot of hallucinated and wrong data, because as of now there is no global regulatory framework on AI ethics, a very important topic. A very important topic with regards to GS paper 4, ethics in digital media as well. Absolutely, it can be wrong, Santosh. Very well said. Google Maps can also give you hallucinated response. It's very common, by the way. Now, let's talk about another more dangerous thing. And I'm looking at AI and warfare. AI and warfare. Very good morning, Levino. Welcome. AI and warfare. How does AI feed into wars now? We all know war has changed. Earlier, war used to be about the number of military personnel you have and the number of weapons you have. Now, the wars are not fought in terms of numerical strength of the army. Wars are not fought only with weapons, wars are fought on the basis of much advanced technologies like theater warfare, like drone surveillance, like the risk of nuclear warfare. In this situation, military application of AI becomes another dangerous question. We are shifting from human controlled war to autonomous systems of war. For example, whenever there is a war or whenever there is a kind of controversy, you can talk about Russia, Ukraine, you can talk about India, Pakistan in the case of Operation Sindoor, you can talk about America's attack on Venezuela. All these have shown shift from human controlled system to autonomous drones, automatic drones, uncrewed ground vehicles, AI enabled cyber weapons, surveillance systems. AI enables faster operation decisions and much quicker battlefield automation. Example? Can I give you an example? Of course, the example is Russia Ukraine war. In Russia Ukraine war, Russia has used cheap AI enabled drones and digital technologies to counter powerful armies, that is, the armies of NATO. Why do you think Russia never gave up despite American and NATO support to Ukraine? Because Russia has the upper edge advantage of cheap AI enabled war technology, including uncrewed aerial vehicles, that is, your uncrewed drones. Now, this also represents a major change in the world from the World War II to now. Warfare tactics have changed, but there is a risk. There is a major risk. You and I keep talking about NPT, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. We talk about CTBT. We talk about the Russia and America, Russia and US New START Treaty that expired on 5th February 2026 just now. But the world has advanced more than that. Now, the real fear is not nuclear weapon, as Elon Musk said and as Ramu just reminded us. The real fear is the risk of AI militarization. AI militarization. What about AI getting militarized? What will we do in that case? AI could become the greatest force multiplier in history. What are the possible threats here? Possible threats are autonomous drone bulk attack. Say thousands of drones coming to attack you, all are automated. Even if you hit them back, you are not killing your enemy, you are just protecting yourself. AI enabled terrorism, cyber war, we have all seen how dangerous it can be. Sitting in Israel, Israeli army, Mossad was able to take control of all the pagers in Iran. Now, this is the biggest example of AI warfare. Countries sitting in their own capitals and neutralizing the data of medical centers, hospitals, government centers, and military centers in enemy country. The biggest example of warfare. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Now, Loss of human control over weapons again has a very dangerous element to it. AI may cause a transfer of power from traditional militaries to smaller actors with AI capacity. Do we need a global regulation? Absolutely. Do we have a global regulation? No, we don't have. Right now, there is no single treaty or no single global law that specifically regulates artificial intelligence in warfare, and especially there is nothing to control autonomous weapons. But this technology is improving very quickly. So, yes, we need international cooperation and some ethical guidelines. That's what the article says on a conclusion note, that AI is emerging as a strategic, economic and military technology that is reshaping global warfare. We absolutely need a treaty to control automated warfare. Now, in the world right now, do you have any existing treaty? Nothing to control AI, but we have certain existing treaties, like one is there from 1980, CCW, 1980, Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons. I repeat, Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons. It is a United Nations treaty adopted in 1980. What's the purpose? The objective is to ban or to restrict weapons that are considered excessively injurious or dangerous with bad side effects. The same treaty is also therefore known as Inhumane Weapons Convention. I repeat, Inhumane Weapons Convention 1980. It was enacted in 1980. It came into force in 1983. Okay? It came into force in 1983. Is there something else also? Any other treaty, Bachi? Not really. We have Geneva Conventions. Geneva Conventions. What are Geneva Conventions? Geneva Conventions are about a set of protocols which are known as international humanitarian law. What do they say? What's the logic of Geneva Convention? Geneva Convention says existing rules of war will apply in creating a distinction between civilians and combatants. You cannot attack civilians. Proportional use of force. Use force only as much as you need to use. You need to be accountable for your decisions. But there is a problem here as well. All these laws, whether it's the Inhuman Weapons Convention, CCW, or whether it's Geneva Convention, they are presuming that decisions regarding ethics will be taken by humans. But today, what is happening? Decisions are being outsourced to AI. Will AI think as ethically as humans can? If AI had the capacity to think ethically, would so many refugees die in Palestine, Gaza? Would so many people die in Ukraine? If AI had ethical thinking capacity, then would so much civil war in places of the Sahel region, that's Africa, would people have died like that? They wouldn't have, because AI cannot be ethical on its own. You have to give it some ethical input to create an ethical output. Without that, whether you have Geneva Convention, whether you have the CCW, which is called Inhuman Weapons Convention, they will really not work. So we need a new framework. The core pitch of the article is we need a better framework to control the use of AI in strategic warfare. Yes, absolutely. Very good. It's limited to pen and paper, Satya. Again, we can say this is about culture lag. Very good, Satya. The great green wall. Totally, the great green wall. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, AI can know what is ethics. You can create human emotions also in AI. You can do that with a very high level of, say, commands and a high level of computing. But on its own, it will not be possible for AI to take a decision. You need to give related inputs. Now, Reshma is answering the question. So is Vikash. We must expedite. Absolutely, totally, Saurav. A very valid question raised by Saurav. Now, Saurav, you have reminded me of the defense budget this time. What did I say when I was talking about the defense budget, Bache? What did I say? I said that this time in the defense, we have seen a change. In defense, we are spending more money on capex, technology of war. And the government is putting less money in revenue expenditure like salary and pension. Exactly the same question you are asking. The same sentiment will continue in future. And militaries will invest in AI technology because that is capex expenditure. They will definitely not Definitely not going to spend on revenue expenditure. Why will they need even human personnel when there is AI? Very good question. Very, very good. Excellent. Now, quickly, can I see the question? Reshma, Vikash, Shlok, Terukula, Sitaram, Saurav, Hika, Kojumba, Pranarathi, Madhav, AB, Shakti, Anup are answering. What's the question? Let's look at these statements regarding AI. One, AI-enabled autonomous systems are increasingly being integrated into military operations, reducing reliance on human control platforms. Is that valid? Totally valid. If that's valid, then can C be the right answer? No, eliminate. B. Second, the use of AI in war has the potential to create asymmetric advantage, even for militarily weaker actors. Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Why not? Even if you do not have a strong military strength, but then if you can invest in AI, definitely what did Russia do? Russia used cheap AI technology to keep on conquering the eastern flank of NATO, and it has done it quite successfully. 2014 Crimea. Now possibly Donbass might also go. Correct. If this is correct, then definitely A cannot be the answer. 3. International institutions have already made a comprehensive regulation regarding military use of AI. No, that's what this article is saying. We have not been able to create a proper military convention like Geneva, like the CCW in the case of AI warfare. So B is the right answer. Yeah, there is a minor split here. So we don't have to exactly call the Lokpal. But what I'm saying, I hope it's clear to everyone. Kundan, Eric, Shinobi, Shlok, Terukula, Sojanya. Is it clear to everyone, Bache? Is it clear to everyone? May I proceed with the next article? Yes, Sitaram, absolutely correct. Hi, Levino, long time. Absolutely, you're welcome to the class. Anybody has any doubt? Yeah, there is no global regulation. We need to create that. Yes. Okay, wonderful. Let's proceed then. With your kind permission, let's proceed to page number 6, editorial second article. Bache, please focus. Thank you so much for confirming, everyone. Okay, all right, Kundan. Second article is page number 6, Bacha, editorial again. Fighter push. HAL's experience with private enterprise. Okay, Shakti. Let me finish this article, Bache. And after this article, I will go back to the previous question and clarify the second point to you. I promise you that. Give me just 6 minutes for this. Thank you. Okay. In this article, again, we are looking at GS paper 3. We are looking at defense technology, but once again, we are looking at privatization. When we were talking about the Shanti Bill, Eric said, we are trying to privatize and liberalize the nuclear domain. Yes, we were. Now, the same thing we are doing in the case of space also. If you keep seeing the current affairs video on our channel, then in one of my videos, I have spoken about how the International Space Station is now coming to an end. It is expiring. And now, American private company is creating a private space station to take the place of International Space Station. Today, astronomical agencies like NASA, very good, Reshma. The company's name is Haven. Yeah, the station name is Haven 1. And what's the name of the company? What's the name of the company that's creating the first private space station, Haven 1? What's the name of the company? Okay. So NASA, Roscosmos, European Space Agency, everybody is saying one thing. Why should we spend money on maintaining space station? Why should we spend money in creating new technology? Why can't we privatize and outsource things like space station, space capsule to private companies? Let us take private vendors. It will save our money. It will also protect us from spending revenue expenditure on day-to-day maintenance. So therefore, all the government owned space companies are now ready to privatize. You see, that is what is called privatization in space. India is doing the same thing, but not just in nuclear, not just in space. In the case of defense also, now we are trying to privatize. We are trying to privatize in the defense sector. This article is talking exactly about that. Now, before I start with this article, no, the company is not SpaceX. No, there is another company, the name starts with V, that is creating the first private space center called Haven 1. Yes, it will go abroad, aboard the Falcon rocket, the reusable rocket. I agree. Vast Space. Very good, Reshma. The company's name is Vast Space. The private international station's name is Haven One. Very good. Partnership will be with SpaceX. I agree. Rocket is, why is it partnership with SpaceX? Because rocket that's being used is Falcon, the Dragon capsule. That's why SpaceX collaboration. Yes? Okay. So all this is the nuclear and the space. Now coming back to the defense sector. I just told you, government now has changed its belief system. The government is expanding money on defense budget because we need to protect ourselves from enemy countries like Pakistan and China who are on our borders. But at the same time, the government says we are not going to waste money on revenue expenditure. The whole big idea about the Agnipath scheme, the Agniveer scheme, is also the same. Outsource as much revenue expenditure as possible. Spend money on capex, capital goods, capital equipment. That's what India is choosing to do. And in the same process, India is also choosing to privatize the defense sector, especially in the case of one critical weapon. And that critical weapon is known as, what is that critical weapon? This critical weapon is known as AMCA. Now we are going to privatize the manufacture of AMCA. What is AMCA? Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft. We will privatize its production. So let's quickly summarize the article in 2 minutes. Article is saying, for an air force to be effective, 3 things are needed. Advanced weapon system. You must have advanced fighter jets. Second, skilled personnel. Weapons alone are not enough. The people who operate those weapons and these fighter jet pilots must be highly skilled. And 3, reliable supply chain and manufacturing ecosystem. You know, we have the need to manufacture more advanced fighter jets because warfare is increasing. We are doing capital expenditure. We will purchase and create more. But will the government companies like HAL or DRDO, will they be able to provide us enough equipment on time? They don't have enough staff. They may not have the cutting edge technology. Will they be able to fulfill our demand that's coming from Air Force on time? Probably not. So time has come to privatize because 3 things are needed. Skilled people also, advanced weapon also, timely delivery also. Otherwise, what will you do? You can't wait for the war to happen. Anytime the enemy strikes, could we foresee Pahalgam attack? No. Could we foresee Shaksgam Valley attack near Siachen by China? No. Will we foresee anything that will happen tomorrow? No. So therefore the article says India must improve the speed, must expedite the production of AMCA. What is AMCA again? Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft. What is the current situation, bache? Very good. We are too busy with old projects. Procurement is taking a lot of time. Very good. So what is the solution? What is happening in India right now? Let's understand. Now the Indian Air Force right now is using a mix of equipment, some from Russia, some from America, and some created within India. But indigenous aircraft like Tejas, which are produced by HAL, was a great breakthrough. At the same time, HAL is also not just manufacturing Tejas and other equipment. HAL is busy into other things. What other things? HAL is busy in repairing and overhauling existing fighter jet. HAL is busy in long-term maintenance of wear and tear. HAL has a heavy workload. HAL has limited staff. So therefore procurement will be delayed. HAL might not be able to deliver on time. Plus, there are quality concerns if you do not invest enough time in manufacturing strategic technology. Because of this, the government is thinking privatization. Government says when it comes to AMCA, let us give private companies a contract to build what? To build prototype development. I'm writing here. Prototype development of AMCA. But what is prototype development? What is prototype development? When I say the government is giving private companies the contract to make AMCA prototype, it means there is no final order that the government has given. Government is not telling private companies, go, start manufacturing AMCA. No. Very good, Reshma. The government is telling, create first few experimental test versions of AMCA before we can allow you to make full scale production. Yes, the blueprint model. Create samples for me. It is a crore, lakhs of crore rupees order that will determine the performance of Indian Air Force in a war, in a military exercise. It's about national pride and honor also. It's about defense. You can't take a risk. So the government is not giving order. Government is saying, try to show me sample first. Show me a sample. Make prototype for me. But what is wrong with that? What is wrong with that? Now I'll tell you what's the problem with that. Listen. See, private companies that are selected to make these prototypes, are they experienced enough? That's a bigger question. On what basis are you selecting these private companies? Building fifth generation fighter jet is extremely complicated, very complex process. It cannot be compared with making helicopters. It cannot be compared with making light combat aircrafts. You can't compare. Now, earlier aircraft development model in India used to be very different. Now things are changing. This is the fifth generation fighter jet. Very complicated. The previous ones were not so complicated. For example, HF-24 Marut, HT-2 Trainer. I've written all of these here. HJT-16 Tejas. All these are lesser complicated versions of military equipment, and hence all of them were created by the government. All of them were created happily within India by HAL, by DRDO, both work under the Ministry of Defense. So no complication at all. Simple procedure, not comparable to the fifth generation technology, quite simple to create, quite simple to assemble. Half parts were imported, some were created in India, and quickly everything was ready by HAL, by DRDO, under the Ministry of Defense. No tension. Why no tension? Because single point manufacturing. When everything is being manufactured in the same area, then what is the tension? One department can coordinate with another. Issues can be solved collectively, and there is a complete responsibility towards each other. No tension. No tension, because designing, production, testing, development, support, repair, everything is happening in the same area. Government controlled HAL, government controlled DRDO, but now things are changing. When you talk about shifting the responsibility of AMCA prototype to private companies, things will not be the same anymore. Yes, this is a PPP model. Now private company is participating. So now what will happen? In case of private company participation, there is going to be no coordination, no single point production, designing and support. Now we involve the services of ADA for designing. ADA for designing. Designing the new model of AMCA aircraft. What is ADA? ADA means Aeronautical Development Agency. It is an organization that is responsible for design and development of indigenous, local combat aircraft in India. It was created long back in 1984. It works under the Ministry of Defense. So designing will be done by the government, ADA, but the prototype manufacturing finally is being done by private companies. You see the lack of coordination. You see the lack of coordination. Designing of AMCA is being done by one department, Aeronautical Development Agency, that is a government body. But final production of prototype will be done by a private company somewhere else. See the lack of coordination now. If the private company is doing prototype manufacturing, who will be responsible for ownership and who will do coordination? Plus there is infrastructure challenge. Now majority of Hindustan Aeronautic Limited production, HAL production, takes place in Bengaluru right now. Takes place in Bengaluru. There is a massive area available. HAL has a huge campus, massive area dedicated to mass manufacturing. For 80 years, it has happened like that. Yes, all the aircraft of Indian Air Force, system testing, National Flight Test Center, DRDO laboratories are located here. Not a problem. Enough space, enough power, enough water. No issue. But what about a private company? When a private company starts manufacturing prototype, that too of a complex technology of AMCA, where will the land area come from? Who will ensure continuous power water supply? Who will ensure enough personnel are available? It is about huge investment of money, huge investment of time to replicate production facility like the one HAL and DRDO currently have. It's a big thing. So therefore, design production coordination could also be a problem tomorrow. A private company may not be happy to invest too much money. Why will a private company invest lakhs and crore of rupees in creating a big campus, purchasing electricity, making water sources available when it knows that I am only making a prototype? Tomorrow, if the government will not like the prototype, order cancelled. Look at this. Now you tell me, ma'am, I'm going to pay you 10 lakh rupees. Can you send me 50 such pens? But these are prototypes. No guarantee, only prototypes. Now I start manufacturing these pens. I buy raw material. I invest money. I create a factory. And tomorrow you say, I don't like your prototype. Sorry, ma'am, I don't want them. What happens to me? I will look like a fool. Why will I spend money on input when there is no written guarantee from your side? Same thing is happening. Why would a private company ready to invest so much money in creating manufacturing ecosystem that's crores of rupees value when there is no guarantee that the government will like the design and the government will purchase that design? That's a big dichotomy here. Plus, who will create a proper coordination between the designer body, ADA of the government, and the final manufacturing company? There could be conflicting issues here also. There could be some kind of red tapeism here also. A private company will never be ready to make fifth generation prototype contract without a confirmed production order. Sorry, it is too risky. That's a problem. Now, another issue is test pilot and manpower limitation. Now, in India, there is another issue. India has very few institutes, very few schools that provide training to test pilots. Very few schools. Training test pilots takes years. It's a years of investment. A new private manufacturing company will need trained test personnel so that they can test their equipment quickly. And where will they come from? Once again, will the private company pay them lakhs of salary? All for a model that is only a blueprint prototype, that is not even a confirmed order. Is there a solution? Yes. Article says because AMCA is a national strategic project, the suggestion is that private companies should be allowed to use facilities of HAL in Bengaluru. They should be have some permission to use infrastructure and campus of these government bodies so that they will be happily investing in technology. They are not wasting in so much setup. Second, some HAL land like the hangars, like the facilities could be shared with private companies. After all, everything is being done for Indian defense force only. And this will reduce cost, duplication and delay. Location is a bigger concern. This article says when you look at another aircraft factory in India that is known as C-295. Now, C-295 aircraft factory is located in Gujarat, in Vadodara. In Vadodara, Gujarat. This is very close to border. This is the border area and that is dangerous. So next time we create an AMCA production, it should be located near about Bengaluru, near about Hyderabad, so that at least we are avoiding sensitive border regions, So that's what the article is trying to argue. It's a great thing that Indian government is now spending money in privatization of AMCA to improve supply, to improve efficiency, but at the same time, whether private companies will be ready to invest so much is a problematic area. So provide them with certain facilities, make a more integrated PPP model, also promote the training of test pilots. Without manpower, what's the point of technology? It's a, pen and paper relationship, right? Absolutely. Correct. Correct. Now, because we are talking about raw material, it reminds me of something. It reminds me of Indian exporters. Indian exporters who are paying double taxation, cascading tax. One, because they never get returns on the input that they are spending on, and finally on the final product. We have discussed it in one of these articles, inverted duty structure. Don't forget that. Okay, so Vikash, Reshma, Sitaram, Terukula, my dear Saurav, Madhav are answering. Let me see the question. Consider the following statements regarding aircraft development and manufacturing in India. Yes. 1. The Aeronautical Development Agency is responsible for the design of advanced indigenous fighter aircraft program like Tejas and AMCA. 2. HAL has historically handled aircraft design, production, testing support, and lifetime maintenance for several indigenous aircraft programs. And 3. Establishing new private sector fighter aircraft manufacturing ecosystem requires minimal coordination with testing agencies because flight testing is primarily handled by Indian Air Force independently. Which of these statements are correct? Majority says it's C. So do I need to call the Lokpal? Yes. Should we invoke the Lokpal? Absolutely no, because all my brilliant students are saying it's C, and I absolutely believe it should be C. Ramu, Shlok, Sitaram, Abhilash, Sojanya, Aspirant, AB, Shinobi, Eric. Is it C? Is it C? Okay. Who said it's a PBQ? Who is still living in the hangover of CSAT? Is it Shlok? Okay. All right. So C is the right answer. Indeed, third is not correct. Definitely we need more pilot testing facilities. Without trained pilots, there's nobody who's going to try this technology. And without a trial, how will the technology be implemented? Remember, it's just a prototype. And the first two are totally correct. So do you deserve an applause for that? You deserve a standing ovation for that. But if I stand, I will exit the camera coverage. I can't stand. But a big round of applause for you. Absolute standing ovation to my brilliant group of students. I'm so proud of you. Absolutely, extremely proud of you. All right. Let's proceed with the third article, Bachra. This is a very fascinating article. And those of you who really admire, those of you who love President Donald Trump will have a great time in reading this article. So very well answered, Kojumba, Sumed, Diya, Deepak. Excellent, Bache. Excellent answer. Kundan. Very good. Okay, we'll talk about TBQ, PBQ later. Let's quickly proceed with the next article. So let's focus here. Okay, yes, we are talking about President Trump again, but this time we are looking at two different countries. We are looking at US and Canada. We are looking at America, entire America. We are looking at US and Canada. Very good. Which GS syllabus can we plug this article to? We can fairly say it is GS Paper 2 International Relations, but we can also say it is GS Paper 3 because once again we are referring to another kind of a tariff war. We are referring to another kind of a tariff war. What is this article saying? Article is saying, why can't Canada leverage oil like China did on rare earth material? Canada has some great reserves of oil, crude oil. But then why can't Canada take advantage of this crude oil and monopolize this area just like China has been able to monopolize when it comes to critical minerals and rare earth material? Why can't it do that? Let's quickly try to answer. What is the new threat coming from President Trump against Canada? Now, as if it was not enough to capture Venezuela, as if it was not enough to capture and threaten Cuba, as if it was not enough to try to attack Greenland, threaten Iran, attack India with tariff, threaten Russia by putting sanctions, keep on troubling countries like China, President Trump has now started to decide that fine, let me take some action against my neighbor, Canada. What is he doing and why is he doing like that? Why, I can't answer. It could be mood swing, but what is he doing? I can talk about. See what is happening. American President Mr. Trump has said, he has threatened, in fact, not just said, article has used the word threatened. So he has threatened that I will block, I repeat, I will block the opening of the new bridge named as Detroit-Windsor Bridge. What is the name of the bridge? Detroit-Windsor Bridge. He says, I will close this bridge. That is a border bridge between Canada and US. Why will he close the bridge? He will close the bridge unless Canada is ready to provide tariff concessions to America. Clear-cut tariff threat again. Breakdown of WTO protocol again. He says, I will close the bridge and stop the border entry between Canada and US if Canada does not provide me tariff concerns. What is this bridge all about? Very good critic, longest border. What is this bridge about, bache? What's this bridge about? Now the Detroit-Windsor Bridge has another name. The official name of the bridge is something else. The official name of the bridge is Gordy Hove Bridge. So never get confused. These are the two same things. The Detroit-Windsor Bridge is also known as, bacha, what is it known as? The Gordy Hove International Bridge. What is this? It is a major infrastructure project that connects Detroit in US to Windsor in Canada. and it passes across the river Detroit. So it passes over Detroit River. It connects Detroit in US with Windsor in Canada. It has a very, very high traffic. Now remember, majority of supplies pass through this bridge between both the countries. But today President Trump is saying, if you do not provide me tariff concessions, then I will impose upon you a tariff of 100%. Oh my God. A tariff of 100% on all the goods imported from Canada. And why is the threat coming? Because Canada has recently done a trade agreement with China. Canada has not even finalized it. It is only trying to explore. Canada is only negotiating, not even finalized, negotiating a trade agreement with China. But look at the monopoly of US. He says, if you finalize this free trade agreement, I will put 100% tariff on you. Now, once again, this action is that of economic pressure on Canada, and it has been a long-term action done by America. There is nothing new here. Nothing new here. Why is it creating a global concern? Listen carefully, bache. Why? Because Canada is saying, listen, Canada is saying that the global rules trading system is now crumbling down. It is ossifying down. There is no country that has the power to criticize President Trump and his repeated attacks on countries one after the other. Canada is requesting the global south countries, the middle power countries, to now take an action and do something about President Trump's monopoly. He says enough is enough. The question is, does Canada have enough economic power to retaliate against President Trump? No. Answer is no. It does not have. Why it does not have? I'm telling you, so listen carefully, bacha. Let's do a quick comparison with China. Everybody focus. My dear bacha, let's compare with China. During America-China trade controversy, listen, during America-China trade war, China used its domination of rare earth material as the bargaining tool. Now, I know, Terukula, Sitaram, I'm just taking two names, but all of you must be thinking about the G2 summit. Absolutely. That's an example of this. China has monopoly over semiconductor. China is the largest manufacturing hub. China monopolizes critical minerals. China has monopoly of 17 dedicated rare earth materials. China was able to bow down President Trump on his knees. That's when he came all the way and met President of China in South Korea. He gave up. He had no solution but to meet him. Why? Because China monopolizes global supply chain. China monopolizes API, raw material of pharmaceutical sector. Where will America go without these rare earth material? Nowhere. And he had to bow down. And both of them negotiated. President Trump said, I will reduce tariff on you, but please, bro, keep supplying rare earth material. And China said, okay, bro, no problem. If you are ready to give me tariff concession, take the rare earth material. Now that was China's monopoly that spoke aloud, that used itself as a bargaining power, because we all know rare earth material are indispensable for green energy, wind turbine, and semiconductor and defense technology. China controls large share of global rare earth supply. That's why countries like America are shivering and they are talking about packed silica. Yes, China has a total monopoly on downstream and midstream capacity of processing, cleaning, smelting, refining, and finally utilizing rare earth material. So yes, the Chinese bro won. Yeah, that's true. But that's not possible in the case of Canada, bache. That's not possible in the case of Canada. Canada has no such capacity now. Why? Listen carefully. On paper, if you look at the paper, if you look at the theory, you will say Canada should have an upper advantage. Listen carefully. If you look at this carefully, you will say Canada should have power. Why? Because Canada is the largest foreign supplier of crude oil to America. Canada is the largest crude oil supplier to America. Most of America and Canada energy trade consists of American imports of crude oil from Canada. That means America is dependent on Canada. US is dependent on Canada for most of its crude oil need. Then in reality, Canada should have an advantage, right? Canada should also do what China has done, but Canada cannot do that. Why can Canada not do that? Because Canada is heavily dependent on American market. Agreed, Canada has a capacity of crude oil, but 95 to 97% of Canadian oil goes to American market. There is no way Canada can diversify. It's a case of clear-cut monopoly. Canada will need new buyers like India and other countries to reduce dependence on American market. 97% market is American. There is no way Canada has been able to diversify its export. Now, another issue is pipeline geography. Majority of the oil that's produced in Western Canada is utilized by consumers in Eastern Canada. Canada being a large country, you can see on the map here. Oil transport infrastructure is therefore deeply integrated with US. All the pipelines are integrated. They run through the border areas. If US doesn't cooperate, probably Canada will not even be able to supply its own oil produced in the western area to its own consumers in the eastern area, in the Ottawa and the Montreal region. It can't. Therefore, what happens? Canada doesn't have any kind of capacity. One, because Canadian oil, once again, it is very expensive to be purchased by countries like India, China, Vietnam, very expensive. Supply chain will be a killer. Second, supply chain will have to come from America. Will US tolerate that? No. Even to diversify the export, Canada will have to depend on US right now. That is the sheer dependence. You see, all countries that were dependent are suffering now. All of them. You name it, I'll tell you. You name it, I'll tell you. Look at Canada. It is paying a price for dependence on US. Look at Europe. Paying a price for dependence on US. Look at Ukraine. Paying the price for dependent on US and NATO. So therefore, the more you are dependent, the more you suffer. Even to diversify its oil today, it will need US cooperation. Most of the supply lines are all integrated. Look at the long border, the longest border. It's very difficult to separate these lines. Expensive investment. Won't be possible at this stage so early. Even if Canada is trying to negotiate a free trade deal with China, US is threatening with 100% tariff punishment. You think diversifying will be easy? If US put sanctions on Canada, what's the future of Canada? The same future that Iran and Venezuela have. It's a case of clear-cut monopoly, plus there is border dependence also. Now, therefore, what happens? There is a limited impact of regional trade pressure also. Listen carefully. Some of the US border states are heavily dependent on Canadian imports. If you look at these areas here in US, quite near the Great Lakes, okay, all of these are deeply dependent on imports from Canada. These are all American, US border states. They are heavily dependent on Canada for imports, but the total volume of trade is very small. Even if this import stops, nothing happens. US will not suffer much. So how can we conclude this article? Article says you can't compare between China and Canada. China has a total monopoly on rare earth material and critical minerals, and Canada has a leverage over supplying crude oil, but it is totally dependent on one market, and that is US market up to 97%. Plus, shared geography, shared infrastructure reduces the bargaining power of Canada. The situation reflects the weakening of rule-based global order and increasing economic force to get things done the way you want them to. Today, if US completely seals the border with Canada, the kind of economic mess that happens in Canada is unimaginable. So definitely President Trump is taking advantage of geographical as well as economic integration that both the countries have with each other. Very difficult. Very difficult, Eric. Great question, but very difficult. They both are members of G7 also. Still very difficult. You see, America governs everything. It calls the shots. 2014, who decided to throw Russia out of G8 and make it back to G7? US. Today, who is thinking, let us call Russia back and once again make G7 into G8? US. How can we argue? Yes. Okay. Correct. Monroe Doctrine, Dunroe Doctrine, complete monopoly, bache. Absolutely. Yes. So quickly the question. Consider the following statements regarding the trade advantage, now leverage is advantage, and energy relations between Canada and US. 1. China has reduced China has used its control over rare earth material exports as a strategic bargaining tool during trade tensions. Too, Canada exports majority of its crude oil to multiple global markets, with only a small share going to the US. And three, several North Indian, what am I doing? I'm so sorry. Several US North border states are highly dependent on Canada. Canadian imports for a large share of their total imports. Which of these are valid statements? Answers are propping up so quickly from Abhilash, Sojanya, Cloud, Jishnu, Deepak, Eric, Ranjan, Santosh, Hika, of course, coming from Reshma, of course, Terkula, Anup, Vikash being the first one to answer, aspirant, Tai Thong. So, no need for the Lokpal again. Majority says the answer is A. Okay, then in that case, is A the right answer? Of course, it is the right answer. What's the doubt here? Totally, first statement is correct. The biggest example, G2 summit. No need for a split. No need for the Lokpal. Look at the third one. Yes, Kojumba. Several northern border US states are highly dependent on exports on Canada. But we also said it doesn't matter because the total volume of trade is too slow. It's too low. So US will never be impacted even if this kind of a border trade finishes or if it declines. So third is also correct. Is second statement correct? No, because we all know the main problem for Canada is lack of diversification. 97%. Yes, 97% of the crude oil goes to US market. Geographically, the pipelines are also integrated. They run across each other's boundaries. So diversification will not be easy. If it tries to diversify, then US will threaten. Already US is threatening with 100% tariff. Tomorrow 500% tariff. And then what happens? What happened to President Nicolas Maduro? When you retaliate, President Trump, what can happen to you? Don't you remember that funny piece of news? For 8 days, I have laughed straight every day for 2 3 hours like a mad person. When I read the news that after Mr. Maduro was lifted in midnight, Kim Jong was not able to sleep for 6 days. He was not able to sleep for 6 days. He thought my number is next. I can't even tell you. This is the funniest thing I've heard in my, I think 7 8 years now. Yes? So can they argue? No. So therefore, it's wrong. Okay? Okay, very good. Now the next article. Now Shakti has a doubt with the first question, I think. Yes, Shakti, was it the first question, Bache? You had a doubt in the second statement. Can you please tell me? Was it the first question or the second question? Shakti, please tell me which question was that? I promised I'll go back to it and I totally forgot. Tell me which question was that? Yes, Shakti, which question was that, Bacha? First one, second one. And which statement were you worried about? I just want to clarify that quickly. Okay, so as your confirmation comes, let me know. I'll write it down here and take it up in a while. Okay, the next article, Bache, let's quickly focus. A reckoning for India's aviation sector. A reckoning for India's aviation sector. So which topic? GS paper 3, science technology. We are looking at the aviation sector, the air flight sector. First, let me quickly clarify. Give me 1 minute of time. I'll go back to second question and clarify the second statement because I feel so upset if any student is stuck somewhere. Second question was about self-manufacturing or the manufacturing of this new aircraft. Okay. So second statement said HAL has historically handled aircraft design, production, testing, support and lifetime maintenance for several indigenous aircraft programs. It's a correct statement only. It's correct only. Why? Because that's what you and I are arguing, no? That's what you and I are saying. That HAL and DRDO used to do most of the manufacturing. Now, HAL is the one that used to not only manufacture indigenous equipment, it also used to manufacture and repair most of these equipments. So that's why this is correct. Acha, it is a first question. Okay. I was misguided. Sorry. First question, coming back to second statement, extremely sorry, Shakti. Second statement, the use of AI in warfare has the potential to create asymmetric. Now, what is asymmetric? Variable. Variable. What is symmetric? Compatible, in straight line, proportionate, asymmetric, disproportionate. So, use of AI in warfare has the power to create asymmetric advantages even for militarily weak actors. Yes, absolutely. Today, I can tell you, Japan is a country that does not have too much military power. Since Second World War, its defeat in 1945, it even gave Taiwan back to China. It said, I am not going to make a military power. I don't believe in war. After the devastation of Hiroshima, Nagasaki, atomic bomb controversy. Today, what is happening? Today, Japan says, no, no, no. China is a superpower. I am threatened because of China, because of North Korea. Even if it has support from US, it's not enough. It needs to protect its islands like Senkaku, areas near Taiwan, Yonaguni. So what is Japan doing now? Japan is also investing in military. But do you think this investment will be in the form of hiring 2 crore military personnel? No. No country wants to do revenue expenditure, salary, pension, maintenance. Everybody is going to do capex. The easiest way is invest in cheap AI. Why is Russia having an upper hand over Ukraine? Russia uses cheap AI drones. So even those countries who are not militarily strong today can use advanced, smart, automated AI weapons and have an advantage. Asymmetrical advantage means disproportionate benefit. Yes. Why did Russia have disproportionate benefit over Ukraine? It has cheap AI. Yes. So this automated AI weapons will give you a disproportionate power over your enemy. Yes. So that's why it was correct. I hope I could clarify this for you. I hope I could clarify this for you. Yes, my dear Shakti. And anybody else who was struggling with that question. Hope I was able to clarify. If yes, then can we quickly proceed with next article? Okay, let's come here. This is an article about aviation sector. I will quickly summarize this article to you in 2 minutes. What does this article say? Bacha, focus. Article is saying India's civil aviation sector is growing very fast. Obviously, we have a total population of 1.7. Yes, Ramu? Was it 1.7, bache? 1.7 billion people. The most populated country in the world is who we are. And therefore, civil aviation sector is rising day by day. But from inside, it is becoming structurally weak. Why? Due to pilot shortage. There is a manpower shortage. Oh, what a paradox. A country that has the highest demographic dividend in the world, the highest youth bulge in the world, average Indian being from the age group of 25 to 28, we are saying in the civil aviation sector, there is a shortage of manpower, shortage of trained pilots. What a wastage of demographic dividend, I must say. A dividend that we can only utilize till 2045. After that, India will start becoming a grey society. What a wastage, I must say. Apart from that, market concentration, monopoly. Monopoly. Yes, I have Abhilash. Monopoly. Now, no, why will I add Pakistan? I thought you were saying about the article. Why will I add Pakistan and Bangladesh here? Of course, I'm not going to do that. It was 1.47 billion. In last class, one of the students said it's 1.78 billion. So let's have a clarity on that. How much is India's population? With a barely 2% land area and 16% of global population, India roughly boasts about 1.5 billion people. If you go by the recent estimates of the newspapers and the news channels, about 1.5. That's the final number we can say, okay? Second to us is China, but we are the highest with a demographic dividend of average age 28. Abhilash says, have you added Bangladesh and Pakistan? No, this is an opposite of what I'm teaching, defense sector. I'd never add that, okay? Okay, now let's proceed with the article. Yes, absolutely, Shlok. Okay. Yes, I know. I know. So not 1.7, 1.5 almost. 1.47, 1.5. Okay. All right. Come back to the main agenda. We do too many gossips and I am a big gossip monger. I forget the agenda. So please focus now. I don't want to be deviated. Okay, let's focus. Okay, but these are the problems in India's aviation sector. What are the grim reminders of these problems? The biggest grim reminder is the Ahmedabad crash. Oh, what a tragic crash 2025. Flight delays, repeated cancellations, shortage of pilots, shortage of ground coordination staff. Another controversy, 2025 December, Indigo operational disruption. Indigo operational disruption. This shows systemic problems in India's civil aviation. It is not about the failure of one airline. It is not that Indigo was failing. It is about a systemic failure in entire civil aviation sector. What's the biggest challenge we are facing right now? Yes, we are facing the challenge of pilot shortage, manpower shortage. Let's break this down quickly. Manpower shortage because airlines typically need more pilots than those are available. What's the global norm here? If you look at the international norms, the global norm says you must have 18 to 20 pilots per aircraft. 18 to 20 pilots per aircraft. Per aircraft. And what is the Indigo ratio? If you look at the case study of Indigo airline, what's the ratio here? The ratio is about 14 pilots per aircraft. So do you see the gap here? Do you see the gap here? Now, for all of my dear students who are still busy enjoying the population stats, please come back to this article. Please come back to this article, otherwise I will issue you North Korea visa. That's how I punish, right? So come back to the article quickly. We have a pilot shortage. Global norms say 18 to 20 pilots per aircraft, and what does Indigo have? Indigo has about 14 pilots per aircraft. Now that is quite a gap. Why? Because training capacity is limited. India would require about 7,000 pilots. 7,000 pilots. 2024 to 2026 financial year, we need about 7,000 pilots and 25,000 to 30,000 more in the next 10 years to come. Why? Because training is expensive. Very expensive. Why? Because there is a shortage of simulators and instructors, and there are regulatory bottlenecks. The biggest issue that's concerning pilot deficiency is flight duty time limitation. Now, when the Indigo episode was in the news, I think all of us in the class had discussed about something called FDTL. Yes? Flight duty time limitations. We have spoken about that, right? Flight duty time limitations, right? So the new flight duty time limitations are about giving more rest period to the pilots, fewer flights in the night time, then making existing airline schedules difficult to maintain. Now what happens if you have so many protocols under FDTL that pilots need rest also? Pilots would need some time of holiday also. They also need to focus on their health. They need fewer flights in the night time. What happens then? If you are taking care of your human resource potential, what are you compromising upon? You are compromising upon traffic of the flight. Then too many flights will not be able to fly on time, and all the schedules will get disturbed that are existing as of now. So clearly it's a debate between taking care of human resource potential, treating human resource like capital expenditure. That's what I told you when we were studying how India is giving less than 2% of GDP to the healthcare sector. I told you it's very disturbing right now. Very less we are allocating to healthcare. Why? Because somewhere we have failed to understand that capex expenditure also means spending money on maintaining a good human resource potential, and that's not being done here. Now, looking at the weak regulatory capacity, what also happens is that many technical posts in the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, DCGA or DGCA, all are vacant right now. They are understaffed badly. Disruptions are often handled through temporary exemptions rather than strict enforcement of laws. Very good, Abhilash. About 0.26% of GDP. Very less in healthcare. Yes. Now, this in the aviation sector, lack of manpower and lack of staffing is a big aviation fault that cannot be addressed immediately. Another issue is, as some of the students were mentioning here, the risk of duopoly. So you have read words like aristocracy, you've seen words like oligarchy. I have already studied with you so many times the word monopoly. Where do we study the word monopoly many times? We study the word monopoly as in the Western Hemisphere, Trump's monopoly, Eastern Hemisphere, China's monopoly. Now we are looking at duopoly. What is duopoly? When the market is dominated by just two leaders. When the market is dominated by just two big players and the rest are non-existential. If you look at the whole world today, yes, we are living in a duopoly. One is China and the other is America. And now if you are looking at civil aviation sector in India, yes, in India also we have a list of duopoly. Duopoly because the major airlines, commercial airlines are, one is Indigo that has about 63 to 65% share of the total market, the two big giants, absolutely. And the second is Air India Group. Second is Air India Group with about 28% of share of the total market. I remember people were joking in between. After the tragic episode happened with Air India, everybody said, we will fly Indigo. Nobody wants to take Air India. It sounds so scary. We are not going to take Air India, Boeing flights, and all of that. But then what happened? Even the Indigo started having controversies about flight delays, and then jokes were coming. Only in India, rich people can fly. We must migrate outside. Everybody should have a private aircraft and stuff like that. Why? Because both are the leaders. Like, very good, Satya, absolutely. Like in the telecom, also we see duopoly. Primarily, yes, Airtel, Jio, Reliance. There's yes, true. And same is the case in civil aviation in India. There is the duopoly. Indigo with 65% and Air India with about 28% share. And together, how much are they ruling the market? Together, they are controlling about 90% of the market share. This is a clear example of duopoly. And this creates a problem, yes, because if a major airline faces disruption, connectivity collapses. Have we not seen the number of people crying, literally weeping for help at the airports, people missing out on their social engagements, pregnant women, elderly people, young children being stranded in queues altogether? That was quite a mess, a legit mess. Now, instead of passengers shifting to competitors, passengers have no choice but to fluctuate between these two duopolistic giants. If you are unhappy with the Air India, you will go to Indigo. If Indigo is having a problem, you might recalibrate Air India. But then, if both have a problem, what do? Your connectivity becomes questionable. And Indigo is the only airline, by the way, that has a command over 60% of the total routes in India. So, what about the regional airlines? They have an opportunity to expand, like Shank Air, AI Hind Air, Fly Express. All these are also new upcoming players, and they are also trying to improve regional connectivity, especially under government's Udan scheme, Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik, by subsidizing the airfares and introducing more competitors in the regional travel segment. We are trying to do that. They are trying to improve regional connectivity, but challenges are still there. Why are challenges there? Previously, we have seen so many such private companies collapsing. Kingfisher, Jet Airways, Go First, all these ran out of market share. If you look at the aviation turbine fuel controversy, that's again a problem. What is ATF, bacha? I'm writing here. What is ATF? ATF means aviation turbine fuel. ATF, aviation turbine fuel. That's again questionable because ATF means expenditure again. What is ATF? The fuel that is used in aircraft engines, and it is very expensive. It is the most expensive investment that is needed for any airline to operate. About 30 to 40% of operating cost of a private company goes in financing its ATF, turbine fuel. In India, who decides the price of turbine fuel? Is it the government? No. The ATF price is not fully controlled by the government. Not. It is determined by market fluctuations. It is the largest component of spending by a company, and India is importing most of its crude oil. You all know that. You all understand that. When I was talking to you about the GIC, the GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council, FTA, I told you India has a negative balance of trade with GCC. Why? Because majority of products that we import from GCC are crude oil and petroleum products. Similarly, what about our dependence on Russia for crude oil? What about the fact that now we are slightly reducing the import on Russia and fluctuating back to, say, little bit America, little bit Gulf, because for India, crude oil is the basic necessity. And India imports most of its crude oil. So therefore, we depend on the global fuel prices. Either it is in the crude oil segment, or finally, even if it's in the air turbine fuel segment. Exchange rate is determined as per dollar, and Indian currency is already depreciating. So that means it will be a very expensive segment for us, not to be fully controlled by the government. It is market determined. It is market determined, and there are infrastructure gaps. So, what is the paradox here? The paradox is that aviation demand is increasing. Many more people will want to take a flight. Middle class is expanding. People have purchasing power. Domestic demand in India has been sustainable throughout. And India is the third largest domestic aviation market. Let's not forget that also. India is the third largest domestic aviation market. Passenger traffic will reach 715 million by 2030. India already has 4.2% of global air traffic, but the system from inside is collapsing. What are the main problems? Let me quickly summarize. Duopoly, lack of implementation of proper rules regarding what we just discussed, rules of giving some rest to the pilots. These are declining the FDTL rules. At the same time, high price of aviation turbine fuel. At the same time, lack of regional players in the market, expensive investment on fuel, lack of staff even with DGCA, lack of government ability to control these private players because of duopoly. All these are creating not just an expensive air travel experience, also operational crisis every now and then. And that's what this article is talking about. Yes, correct. Absolutely, Ram. Very well summarized. Well said. Can we proceed with the question now? Quickly, the question. This is the last question. Consider the following statements regarding India's civil aviation sector. 1. FDTL framework mainly aims to reduce pilot fatigue, pilot tiredness by restricting flight hours, night operations, and increasing mandatory rest periods. 2. India's domestic aviation market in this disruptions in major airlines may lead to a loss of connectivity on certain routes rather than redistribution of passengers to competing air flyers. 3. The Udan scheme aims to improve regional air connectivity by supporting routes to tier 2 and tier 3 cities through policy incentive and subsidy. And 4. Aviation turbine fuel prices in India are largely insulated. What is insulated? Protected. Protected from global crude oil price fluctuation due to domestic price regulation. Which of these statements are true? Which of these statements are true? Who's answering? AB, Sadhana, Aspirin, Shakti, Sitaram, Madhav, Roshan, Terukula, Shlok. Okay, very good. What about Diya? Terukula, yes, he has answered. Abhilash answers. Saurav also. But what about Vikash, Reshma? Hika answers. Sitaram, Anup. What about Taithong? What about Kojumba? What about Eric? Eric's answer has come. Deepak has also answered. Shinobi has also answered. So what's the right answer here? Yes, Sumedh, are you sure? Again, a mild case of split verdict. B and D. Okay, fine. Eliminate one then. If B and D are the same, you can choose either B or D. So there is no split verdict as I see. 4 probabilities. Okay, so you're doing a probability question now. Fine. So then B and D are the same. So then A and C are wrong. That means no Lokpal. Most people are saying B, D, same answer, right? So then how can we break this down? A is correct, totally correct. That's the problem with Indigo right now. Second is correct, totally correct. Regional players are trying. They are trying to improve last mile connectivity. But then the problem is in India's aviation market, disruptions, if they happen in major powers like Indigo or if they happen in Air India, connectivity only gets collapsed because there is no third competitor. It is a duopoly. If competition was there, people would have gone and taken an alternative. But when there is no alternative, what will you do? It's like I am not getting signal in Airtel. Let me take Jio. Jio also I am not getting signal. Then let me not have a mobile phone. Where will I go? Same situation. So correct. And third is correct. Totally. That is Udan all about. So yes, whether you select B or D, the first 3 statements are correct. Fourth statement is wrong. So very well answered. Should I give a huge round of applause? Absolutely, I must give it. That's very well done. Very well answered, everyone. Udit, Reshma has also answered. Sitaram has answered. Totally, totally. Kojumba also answered. B or D, Deepak, same thing. Very good. Very, very good. Okay, that's a new norm that I have created, Eric. All right. Okay. So, one last slightly lengthy article, but I won't make a lengthy breakdown of the article. I will summarize it in as quick time as I can. In real time, let us break this article down. Recently, you and I were talking about Elon Musk. Just now, we spoke about Elon Musk. Why? We were looking at Dragon Crew capsule. We are looking at Falcon rocket. We are talking about the International Space Station in terms of a company in America called VAST. What's the space station all about? The name Reshma had shared with us. Now, this article is trying to say why are SpaceX and companies like Blue Origin all running behind moon? What is the sudden craze in the world about lunar expedition? Everybody wants to go to the moon. Now, yesterday I have made an elaborate video on what? On Chandrayaan 4. I don't know if everybody has seen that video. When time permits, you can. Chandrayaan 4 is something India is also now planning to launch by 2028. And what will be new about Chandrayaan 4? The new thing is that India has already selected a location in the south pole of the moon in order to land Chandrayaan 4. What is unique about Chandrayaan 4, Bacha? Chandrayaan 4 is the first mission in India that will collect the soil and rock sample from the moon. Yesterday, I had asked a question in this current affairs class. What do you call the soil coming from the lunar surface? It is known as regolith. We have earlier also spoken about that. So this will be the first time a spacecraft from India, through its modules called ascender and descender modules, shall be able to collect soil sample, rock sample from the dark side of the south pole of the moon. Why the dark side? Because in the dark side there is ice, there is frozen water that may show us possibility of any more information about life or any other form of existence or any other form of water on the moon. So it is going to come back. Yes. First mission in which we are bringing sample directly back to our planet. A sender descender will collect the sample and the re-entry module will bring it back to us. Yes, regolith. Very good. Correct? That is why it is unique. Now one student is talking about the Shiv Shakti point. Now that is Chandrayaan 3, bacha. Chandrayaan 3. Soft landing on the moon. Soft landing on the south pole of the moon. And the point at which Vikram lander had touched the south pole of the moon became the Shiv Shakti point. That is Chandrayaan 3. Now we are talking about Chandrayaan 4. Okay? You will remember, first Indian mission to collect soil sample and rock sample of the moon in the south shaded or the completely frozen area of the moon. Very good. Now, having said that, this article is looking at the whole world. Why are all the private companies obsessed with lunar expedition? Let's quickly break down. Most private companies, whether it is SpaceX, whether it is Blue Origin, all of these are shifting their focus from Mars to moon. Why? Mainly because of technology preparedness. Everybody has the technology to go to moon easier than going to Mars, and NASA is also prioritizing moon. India, ISRO is also prioritizing moon. It is now a geopolitical competition, especially with China, that we must try to reach the moon and do some investigation ASAP. What's the long-term vision versus the short-term vision? Let's understand. Now, SpaceX, a company owned by Elon Musk, has a long-term goal, sending humans to Mars. I repeat, sending humans to Mars. What about Blue Origin, company owned by Jeff Bezos, who recently got engaged and married? It was a big news, page 3 news dominating the media. He has a long-term goal of conducting a space-based industry. Both the companies are now prioritizing moon missions, but why are both of them prioritizing the moon rather than prioritizing the Mars? One, it's easier to reach the moon than reaching the Mars. Travel time is less. Communication happens quickly in real time. Launch opportunities are many. In 1 month, you can launch several spacecrafts to moon, quite unlike the case of Mars. Mars missions are tougher. Travel time can take up to months altogether. The launch window, you cannot launch a space mission to Mars beyond a period of more than 1 year. Only annually you can do that. But for moon, monthly you can keep launching. In case of Mars, several failures have happened, many failures, and that leads to multiple years getting wasted. So the moon is a stepping stone today in future for reaching Mars through a better technology. NASA is also believing in its moon first policy, and this is very important for GS paper 3. Why? Because NASA has a program that is known as NASA's Artemis program. NASA's Artemis program. What is the program all about? Program is about returning humans to the moon. NASA once again wants to send humans to the moon. Now, US government therefore sees the moon mission as strategically important, politically important. It's a case of soft power also. Apart from resource extraction, it is also linked to its competition with China and China's increasing participation in space. All this competition has now led NASA to believe that we must privatize the space segment as much as possible. For NASA, it's cheaper and it's quicker to privatize most of the space development to private companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin, rather than doing a government controlled production and then repair and surveillance. What are the reasons? The reasons is, if you look at SpaceX is already planning an uncrewed lunar landing around 2027. That's next year. SpaceX wants to test its Starship technology. It is also, therefore, considering more investors. Possibly, SpaceX will also have an IPO. It might go public. It wants public investment now. Lunar missions are providing clear milestones and funding opportunities to SpaceX. But then, if you look at Blue Origin by Jeff Bezos, what about him? The US China space race is becoming tougher every day. Somebody said rat race. True, it is a rat race in space. So, Blue Origin is now trying to stop its space tourism and focusing on NASA coordinated projects. It is now trying to create a lunar lander for NASA. More money comes with a tie up with NASA rather than doing space tourism from public. Therefore, Blue Origin also needs to prove that it can build complex human-rated system. When I was talking to you about Axiom 4 and Gaganyaan, I have already explained human rating. What is human rating? Making sure that crewed missions can safely take astronauts into space objects and fly them back through proper re-entry modules. By making sure the crafts have enough redundancy systems, enough backups. They are compact. We are also launching docking technology. Space Decks, India's docking technology. The fourth such country to try its hand at that. Yes, Space Decks mission, space refueling technology. Why are all these being done? Because we are making sure that if you are sending humans abroad outside the planet, you must make sure they can come back safely too. So, flights and crews and missions are thoroughly tested for human rating. Are they capable of carrying and bringing back human beings back to the planet? That's important. And Blue Origin is now investing money on that. Moon missions help in building credibility. If you can send people to moon and bring them back, tomorrow you can do the same thing with Mars and frequently to the international space stations also. What's the bigger geopolitical controversy here? The American China space race is intensifying. Returning humans to the moon and bringing them back safely is now not just about exploration, it is about a symbol of technical leadership. NASA and US lawmakers are emphasizing so much on the Artemis program and lunar explanation. Why? Because now moon dominates the agenda of most company, whether it's Artemis, whether it's China, even if it's India through Chandrayaan 4. So if you want to become a soft power in the real sense, moon is the way to go. Yes? So now that phrase in English, once in a blue moon, will change. Moon will become a regular phenomenon. Yes? Okay. So quickly, let's try to then. I have written all the notes here, so nobody will miss out on the notes in the PDF. Now, quickly, one of the last articles. It's a front page article. I didn't feel like missing this article. Another 2 minutes, please. What's happening? As I said, President Trump has threatened Canada. You just saw the threat. 100% tariff on Canada if Canada continues its agreement with China. If Canada does not give trade concessions to Canada, then what happens to US? US will impose 100% tariff. Now, a same kind of indirect threat has come to India. Now, you and I were talking that President Trump is a changed man now. You and I said America is becoming softer on India now. America is ready with the upcoming bilateral trade agreement with India. Terms of reference are being signed between the two countries. America has agreed to reduce the tariff to 18%. Then what is this? Indirectly, once again, America has really jolted, given a shock to India's export sector. Exporters are insecure and they are very unhappy. Front page news, what happened? A new Bangladesh and US trade agreement is now going to happen. I said, I said that. I clearly said in one of my classes that looks like President Trump is changing his attitude towards India. I think I was so wrong in saying that. Well, now we are the indirect victims of this new trade pact. Let's see what happened. GS paper 2, IR, international relations. GS paper 3, trade tariff, export. Let's look at Bangladesh. You see the map, I'll look at the question. This is Bangladesh. As you are looking at Bangladesh, please also try to look at the neighboring areas. Now, I do believe everybody knows with which country does India share its longest border with? Can you answer that question for me? Can you answer that question? With which country is India sharing its longest border, longest land border? Which country is that? Can you see the location of Bangladesh? Meghalaya sitting on the shoulder of Bangladesh right here. Shoulder of Bangladesh, Meghalaya. Yes, the same Meghalaya with which had experienced the rat hole mining collapse tragedy 2 days back. Look at other areas like Tripura. Very good. It is Bangladesh. Look at Tripura. Look at Mizoram. In your mind, please keep thinking about the Schedule 6 states. Look at Manipur. Another violence has erupted in Manipur today. Yes, the new chief minister was recently selected in Manipur, but the Kuki people and the Metis people are still fighting here. Look at another areas like Meghalaya. So have a look at this entire region. Look at West Bengal. It is completely enveloping Bangladesh from southern, western, and northern areas, and then small chicken neck here, including Sikkim here. Yes, and the tiny little cap here, Bhutan. You should have a good idea of this map here. Now let me quickly breathe out. 4,000. Very good. Absolutely. The longest border. Very good. Radcliffe Line. Excellent. 1971 Bangladesh War. Sheikh Hasina controversy. Very good, bache. Very good, bache. Excellent. Now quickly let's try to understand this article. Listen carefully. A new US Bangladesh trade agreement is now being finalized. Under the trade agreement, Bangladesh will shift its import of cotton as raw material from India to US. If Bangladesh will not buy Indian cotton, it will be a major loss to Indian exporters and India's cotton sector. A country like India that is a leading exporter of cotton, a crop that grows in regur soil. We spoke about regolith. This is regur soil, black soil, primarily the Deccan Indian soil. Maharashtra, Gujarat, Andhra, Karnataka, very famous for peanut and cotton production. No wonder India expedited its cotton production through the BT cotton. We don't allow BT, biotech, in brinjal, but we have allowed in cotton to fight the bollworm disease. At the same time, India boosts its Kasturi cotton, a unique brand of cotton created in India, a GI tag product. Recently, we also gave GI to Ponguru Khadi. Yes, a GI tag product. It uses a fine quality of Indian cotton, by the way. Since British times, India has been a lucrative market for cotton production. Today, we will suffer because Bangladesh, which is one of our largest buyers, will not buy from us anymore because it will buy from America. And why is that going to happen? That is going to happen because, listen, Bangladesh has a Bangladesh has a very large textile industry. The whole world knows that Bangladesh is a leader of textile and apparel production in cotton. We have also spoken about how Bangladesh has seen incidences of child labor, informal sector labor abuse, because the cotton textile is the biggest employer in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has a leading textile industry, but in reality, it produces very little raw material. Yes, it produces textile, but it has no production of cotton as such. So, it has to import most of its cotton as well as the yarn. Traditionally, India has been one of the largest exporters of cotton to Bangladesh, both cotton and the yarn. Under the new trade pact, US Bangladesh, America will, listen, impose 19% tariff on Bangladesh textiles, but reduce the tariff to zero if Bangladesh uses US cotton rather than Indian cotton. What is US cotton all about? One of my students just told me. What is US cotton all about? MMF. US cotton is about MMF. This is US cotton. Why? This is called man-made fiber. Man-made fiber. So did you see the deal here? Did you see the threat here, bache? Satya, aspirant, Terukula, yes. Jishnu, did you see the deal? Yes. Reshma Vikash, did you see it, bache? What's the challenge? What is the new threat? US is importing a tariff of 19% on Bangladesh textiles. But if Bangladesh starts taking American cotton and not Indian, then the tariff will become zero. This encourages Bangladesh, naturally, to buy cotton from US rather than India. And how will it impact India? India, it will impact in a big way. Bangladesh is the largest procurer, largest purchaser of India's cotton and India's cotton yarn. So India will lose a major export market. We won't be competitive. Indian textile exporters are very, very concerned about the loss of this competition and why Bangladesh is happy with it. Why is Bangladesh right now trying to sort of leave us behind? Because Bangladesh does not grow its own cotton domestically. So for Bangladesh, it doesn't matter. It will buy cotton from wherever it can get bulk, affordable cotton supply. It's easy to import. Only all it has to do is to shift the seller from India to US. This could give Bangladesh better access to US market also, double benefit. If you buy American cotton, not only will your tariff come down, you will also sell those apparel and final textiles to American market, larger profit, larger export market. Challenges for Bangladesh. Is there any challenge for Bangladesh? Yes. American cotton is expensive than Indian cotton, much more expensive. And Bangladeshi laborers are highly trained in using Indian yarn. That will be a big switch for them. It will be expensive to purchase American cotton due to transport and logistics. Bangladesh may one day become totally dependent on one supplier. Bangladesh is also doing the same mistake what Canada does with its oil. For Canada's crude oil, America is a monopoly, only buyer. If Bangladesh also makes America the only buyer, it is now trying to kill export diversification tomorrow. It's trusting too much on President Trump. Can you trust a man who has mood swings every day, which impacts geopolitics? You are not doing trade diversification, you are only buying from US, and if Bangladesh does that, tomorrow its own supply chains may become very restrictive. So how can we conclude this article? All that we need to say is that trade agreement can reshape supply chains. We all know that. It can, right? Now, US Bangladesh deal is a potential threat for India, but in the long term, it will be a potential threat to Bangladesh as well. Very good, Abhilash. For Bangladesh as well. Yes, this is the map here. So we are almost done. Now, in the front page, there is a very strange news, but you already know about it. I think all my students know about safe harbor protocol. All of you know about the new IT digital media ethics code. So I am not going to drag this too much. Just remember the front page news was there, under which the government is telling now all the companies, all the digital social media platforms that we want to amend, we want to change the information technology rules by creating an amendment in 2026 to control and to regulate AI generated content, especially deep fake. Very good. Deep fake content. What is government saying? Government is saying, very good, Vikash and Ramu. Government is saying, we want, very good, Abhilash. We want a labeling from your side. For any social media platform who wants to post its content online and who is also hosting user generated content from people, they have to make sure that they label and inform the public that their content is photorealistic. It looks real, but it is artificial. It is synthetic. It is made by excessive use of deep fakes and AI. All these are happening under information technology, intermediary guideline, and digital media ethics code rules 2021. All these have been established under India's IT Act 2000. These rules are regulating social media, digital media, news platforms and OTT platforms. And what does this article say? Article is saying you cannot allow hyper realistic content, synthetic content that looks real but in reality it is fake. You have to label that as fake, whether it's a video or an image or a text. In certain part you have to clarify this is deep fake, this is not real. And that is now becoming mandatory. And platforms must ask users to disclose. If I am a user and I am uploading a reel on Instagram, I have to disclose whether my reel or whether my video has an element of deep fake, hyperrealism or not. I have to clearly disclose that. This is becoming compulsory now. What happens if I don't do that? If I don't do that, what happens? Instagram will take the punishment for that. Why? I am posting a fake content. It's my mistake, not Instagram's mistake. The government will find out. The government will send a notice to Instagram that this user has generated a deep fake content. Remove it. If Instagram removes it, very good. No problem. Instagram is safe then. Why? Because all these data platforms have a protection which is called safety harbor clause. Safe harbor clause, as Vikash and Ramu said, section 79 of the IT Act. If Instagram removes, it is safe. But how will it remove? The new rules are more strict. Earlier, they used to take 24 to 36 hours to remove, but not now. Now, once you get a notice from the court or the government, within 3 hours you have to remove the content. Or within 2 hours you have to remove any content that has not taken consent of the user, which is including pornography or any kind of vulgarity. Within 2 hours you remove. If you are removing, if Instagram removes, it is safe. Safe because then it will enjoy safe harbor clause under section 79 of the IT Act. It is not Instagram's fault, right? Provided the user has declared. If the user is declaring, fine. If it's not declaring, then Instagram will have to remove if it wants to be protected under safe harbor clause. That is something we need to understand. One more thing, when you look at the safe harbor protection, we must understand in case social media platforms do not do due diligence, if they refuse to remove a cheap vulgar content within 2 hours or an illegal content within 3 hours, then they will be punished. Then they will be punished. Then there is no kind of safe harbor clause that they can use. States will now appoint more than one officer to issue content removal orders. Minor AI edits like smartphone photo touch-ups and all are exempted, but any major content that is synthetic or that is manipulated will have to be removed. Is that clear? It's very realistic. That's true. Is it clear? That's all I had to say for today's Hindu class. Thank you so much for being with me. I'll join you tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Lovely participation, great curiosity. God bless each one of you. Absolute success to each one of you. Remember, we are still announcing a big sale called Rank Booster Sale. Under the Rank Booster Sale, on all our courses of 26, 27 and 28, you will get a flat 50% off. Plus, if you register by use of codes live, you will get additional more discount. It's a limited period offer. Do enroll. Absolute flat 50 off on all the programs. A good chance for those who are still preparing for 27, 28. Even for 26, there is a batch that started yesterday. You want, you can definitely join that course. Keep following the Telegram for more updates from my side. Yeah, monthly current affairs is pending. I'll take that up shortly. Okay. Thank you for reminding, Santosh. Okay then. For each one of you, for each one of my dear students from the beginning to the end, I'm not taking names because it's a little late already, but within each one of you, every single student, God bless you. Lots of love to you, and I'll see you tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Study, do not get stressed, and take your exam as an adventure. No stress